guys, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I thought we would do something a little different. Today I'm going to do a coffee talk, and this is something I would like to do quite often on my channel. I like to tell stories and I like to talk about things I've been through and experiences and stuff like that. So I thought, what better way than to sit down and have coffee together and chit chat. So for today's first coffee talk, I was going to talk about my anxiety, how long I've had it, how I deal with it, stuff like that. So if you want to see that, then keep watching. Okay, so I'm gonna start off by talking about how long I've had my anxiety. I've had my anxiety since I was 12. It started because I had a lot of personal family issues, and the biggest one was my parents divorcing, and it was super stressful, obviously, because that would be stressful on any 12-year-old. But how my body started dealing with anxiety was I felt like I had a huge lump in my throat, and it was causing me to have panic attacks because I felt like it was cutting off like my airway, and I could not swallow my food. I would be eating and I'd chew my food, go to swallow it, it would get stuck and I would choke. And so we thought that something was literally wrong because it would do it when I was chewing gum and like swallowing my saliva and stuff like that. And it just, like, if I tried to chug like a glass of milk, I would choke on it and I couldn't swallow it. It was all in my head, but that is how I dealt with it. My mom took me to the doctors, and a lot of the doctors just said, you just are stressed out. It's just stress. So when I learned how to deal with that stress and how to get the stress to kind of calm down and how I dealt with it was my mom had gotten me a horse. I would just go on long rides by myself and I would literally just talk to my horse. I didn't talk to my friends about it or anything like that because I didn't feel like at that age it was any of their business. I don't know, that's just the way I dealt with it. But my horse, I told her everything, and it might just be a mental thing of mine, but I felt like she was listening, and well, she had no choice. But yeah, so I would go on rides for 2 hours and cry and ride it out kind of thing. So that's the way I dealt with that. And then started in high school. So when I was young, I was going to one public school and I was bullied really bad at that school. So I went to a different public school. It was Catholic. I thought the kids were going to be a lot nicer because they were all religious. It was a 10 times worse school to go to. The kids were even more brutal. I had even less friends there, and the teachers were brutal, and it was just all... My public school experience was horrible. And then I got to high school and I became I stood up for myself more, and so my stress was a little less because people finally respected me, I felt. I went through a really difficult couple of things in high school, and my anxiety came back, and it came back differently. I still to this day have that swallowing problem, but it still... Linny's behind the camera. But yeah, so it came back in high school. It came back as panic attacks and visual migraines. I was constantly losing vision in an eye. And then about half an hour later, my vision would come back, but then I would get this migraine that was more horrible than childbirth for me. It was absolutely horrible. And so then I figured out how to kind of get through it. Just my best friend, she was always there for me, helped me through absolutely everything, had my back, and she helped me through a lot. And my mom, she was always my rock as well. And yeah, so that I was getting, like I said, I was getting panic attacks as well. I couldn't breathe. I felt like I literally needed a paper bag. Was that Ariel? But yeah, so the panic attacks were really bad. There's a lot of times where I had to go home. I probably lived about, it was probably about a 10-minute drive to the high school. And at first, like obviously at first in high school you don't have your driver's license, you're not old enough, and it would literally take me about an hour and a half to walk home. It was a fairly long walk, but that walk helped me out a lot. So yes, I was skipping the last classes of the day, the 2 last classes. I would most likely leave at lunch, or I would leave second last class of the day, and I would show up at home and my mom was like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "I needed to come home." I would get stressed out very easy and stuff like that. So I didn't sleep much when I was in high school because my anxiety as well kept me up at night. So I hardly ever slept. I guess there's just a lot of drama in high school, and there was always, you know, petty stuff when you're 16 years old with boys and friends and stuff like that. And then there's a couple of pretty stressful experiences that I had in high school, so that just kicked everything up a notch. But yeah, so that is what I dealt with. And then when I got out of high school, I had a boyfriend, but then it didn't work out with us, so then I started dating Brady, and we were together for 2 months, and we moved out to Alberta, and that was stressful because I made everybody in my family super unhappy with me. The only person who was excited because it was an experience was my dad, but he was also still very nervous because Brady and I hadn't been together for very long, but I had known Brady for 2 years prior, so we were friends and we were moving out there with other friends and stuff like that. But then turns out the other friends that were there came home, and it was just a mess, and we were only out there for 3 weeks. We got an apartment, we signed a 1-year lease, and it didn't work out. So my anxiety got kicked up by that, and then after that, there's somebody outside who just walked to the end of my driveway, saw Charlie who's tied up, and turned back. Literally looks like they came to check out my house though. After Alberta, we came home, and then I found out I was pregnant with Ellie. And after that, we had been together for 5 months. So then that was a little stressful because people were like, oh, like, they're very judgmental. Not our family. Our families were both very supportive and excited for us. But just outsiders and stuff like that, they were, you guys haven't been together for very long, like it's not gonna work out, blah blah blah. So that was a little stressful. And then Ellie came, and there was more stressful times, and it was just, our relationship was a very hard one to get started because there's just a lot of bumps in the road, I guess, that we had to get over before we could get into a very nice and smooth relationship. But ever since Ellie was about 6 months, our relationship has been the best relationship I've ever been in, and that has helped a lot because Brady has just become my rock. He is like, when I've had a bad day, when I've had a good day, he's the one that I go to. He's the one that I always want to tell. There's always something that happens in a day that I want to tell him about. So he is a lot of I don't try to put my anxiety on him because I don't want to put that stress on him. That's not fair. He's got his own stress. We don't even have to talk about it. His presence makes me better. But then I wanted to talk about a couple of other things that really help me with my anxiety. So the first one is this Calm app right here. And as soon as you open it, it says take a deep breath, which I love. There's a sound. There's different sounds. This is the one that I picked. And it's just water flowing with like the wind and birds and stuff. And there's ones, there's little ones that help you with sleep. And so then it finds a bunch of different things that you can do for getting to sleep, which sometimes I do, but I'm pretty good at going to sleep. I just need to get my butt in bed earlier. And then there's ones for meditating, and the meditating are the ones that I've been doing. I think it just puts you into a different place, and I've been doing it for quite a while, that I've gotten in the habit of doing it like even when I don't mean to be. So if I'm having a panic attack or an anxiety attack, I literally just bring my mind back to maybe the session that I did the night before and use the things that I learned, and it calms me right down. So the other thing that I do is I just downloaded this. It's called Paint by Number. So it's coloring. And I know people are going to be like, why don't you just color in a coloring book? I do. I do all of that. I do Sudoku, I do crosswords, I color in coloring books, I write in a journal, I do all of that stuff, and all of that stuff helps me. I have a journal, and I will literally write down things that I'll start in January, and I'll write down everything in January that has stressed me out, and at the end of January, I'll go and I'll cross things out, even if it's right down to a bill. It's just the smallest thing like that, right? Anything that stresses you out, I will write down for that month, and then I'll go through it, and I'll cross it out if it's not stressing me out anymore, if it's not a problem, if we've taken care of it, and I'll highlight it if it's still there, and I'll bring that over to the month of February. And then hopefully by the end of February, I've been able to cross it off. There's been things that have been on my list for 6 months that stress me out. There's things that have been on there for a year that stress me out. It's just all how you deal with it. If it's a big problem, if it's a little problem, there's going to be things from 10 years ago that still stress you out. But that's just how I deal with it. But this is really easy if I'm in the car and obviously Brady's driving, or I'm at somebody's house, and because anxiety can hit you whenever. So if I'm at somebody's house, if I'm out for dinner or something like that, I'll go to the bathroom and I'll pull up this app and I'll color. So what you do is you just pick, like there's so many, these ones are ones that I've done. There's so many different pictures that you can do. But yes, so that is, I'm getting a phone call, but that is what I do, and I start coloring, and it's really, really easy for me. It helps a lot with stress. You don't drink coffee. But yeah, so that is how I deal with my stress. That is some of the things that I do to help. I try to talk to myself a lot. I try to help myself get through it. But sometimes there's things that hold on to you and you just can't get through. And so those are bigger issues, but mine have never been big enough where I've needed to go and talk to a professional or anything like that. I've been pretty good at being able to get myself through it. But yeah, so that is, and obviously my children are one thing where as soon as I see their tiny little faces, my day is just so much better. So if I can keep distracted with the girls, then it's a bonus for me because they're easy to be happy around. But yeah, so that is what I do. If I ever find more things that help, I will do a part 2. I will do a part 2 to this video, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that maybe you guys could try this if you have anxiety, and who knows? Maybe it'll help you one day. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching, and if you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to get notified every time I upload. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.